Hello, Katamira from Greece. This is the host, Kristina Grace, of the Out of the Fog podcast. It's great to have you join me. This podcast is a little bit late this week, and that's because yesterday I had a migraine and I'm still sort of in the after effects of that. But I'm here. So last week, we talked a little bit about music. A tiny bit about music. It's such a big topic, especially when it comes to mental health. And the reason that came up for me was because a client was talking to me about how music helps them. And so I wanted to share a little bit about how music helps me. And I'm really curious and interested to hear how music helps you. What do you notice? What type of music do you use to help you? How do you use music to help your mental health? Again, you can send a comment to me through Facebook or through Instagram. Love to hear your feedback because this should be an interactive thing, and it's about shared experience, and how music helps you may be really useful and helpful to someone who's listening in. This week, I want to talk to you about a topic that has come up again with one of my clients, and it's the topic of loneliness. And I think it's a really important topic because it's actually a big part of the human condition. I would be very hard pressed to find someone who has not experienced loneliness at some point. For some reason, I think we get ashamed of loneliness, of the feeling of loneliness. Um, I think that comes from this place of wondering if we are lonely because we are maybe not loved enough, or not likable enough, or not something enough. And so I think that's why we tend to be a little bit quiet about it. But I just wanted to reassure you in the first instance that loneliness is something we all experience from time to time, and there are certain seasons in our lives where loneliness crops up more than others. So it can happen for people who are retired, or who have lost a partner, or lost someone close to them. It can happen for people who have recently had a baby and their whole world has changed and potentially feels like it's got smaller, and they're feeling a little less in contact with the adult world. So lots of different seasons in our lives where loneliness crops up. I have been what you might call a bit of a digital nomad lately, traveling a little bit while working, and I work from home. I've worked from home for so long that I actually can't remember how to do it any other way. And what comes up for digital nomads, because I belong to lots and lots of different community groups on Facebook for digital nomads, is this experience of loneliness, because often people are traveling on their own, or they're moving to a different country before they've had time to settle into the community. You may have recently moved to a new country or a new community yourself, and maybe experiencing loneliness. So again, there are so many instances and seasons where loneliness crops up more often for us. And I think it's helpful to remember that we're not alone in this experience, that it's a really common human experience. And that's because we are built, we're made to be part of a community and even part of a family. It doesn't have to be a blood family, but we have a longing to connect with people. And so the question here that I wanted to sort of talk about today is, what can we do in our how do we respond to loneliness? What can we do? Because it can feel very painful when we're feeling lonely, and we don't even have to necessarily be on our own to feel lonely. We can feel lonely at school. We can feel lonely in our workplace. We can feel lonely in the relationship that we're in. We can feel lonely in our family. And I sometimes feel like there's sort of an added layer to that, because we sort of think, well, we shouldn't really feel lonely in this relationship. We shouldn't feel lonely in this family. We shouldn't feel lonely in this community. So what is loneliness telling us? What is it? What can we learn from loneliness? And what can we do? So a mixture of ideas here, and bearing in mind that this is a big topic, but I just want to touch on some ideas. So, if you're on your own a little bit more than usual in this season of your life, you may be an empty nester. Your children have left the home. You may be newly single. You may be newly divorced. If you are just in that kind of a season and feeling lonely, I want you just to have a think about the things that you felt that you couldn't do so easily when you had children relying and depending on you, or when you had a partner who perhaps wasn't that interested in travel or wasn't that interested in some of the interests that you have. So when you've had young children and you haven't felt like you've been able to have that independence of making decisions spontaneously, or the things that you just put off when you were raising children, because it felt too hard to do them. I want you to have a think about those things and think about doing them on your own. And even if you would prefer to do it with someone, just to start having the courage to do that on your own, whether it's going out to restaurants, whether it's taking yourself out for coffee, if it's going to the art gallery or the theatre or the cinema, if it's travel, whatever it is, getting the courage to do that on your own, and enjoying the experience, even if there is an element of it that gives you discomfort. What does it give you to do those things on your own, and to do those things while feeling a little bit scared or a little bit uncomfortable, and doing them anyway because you enjoy them and you don't want to miss out? So that's just a little word for those of you who are perhaps on your own a bit more than usual. Do it anyway, without a plus one. Go to that party, go to that event. Join some groups that share your interest. It could be that you really like walking. You might like to join a walking group or even a hiking group. It could be that you like painting. Maybe do an art class. It could be that you love reading. Join a book club. Just try some things that, whether it's sports that you did as a kid, and you think, well, I could give that a shot. I liked it when I was a kid. Maybe I'll like it now. Spend some time out and about. Get out of those four walls, and just enjoy moments around you, the things that you enjoy. What do you enjoy? Discover those things that you enjoy, or rediscover things that you used to enjoy. Whether you're in a relationship or in a have a close family or have a community that you're involved with, if you're feeling, or whether you're on your own, ask yourself what it is that is missing. And what we know, what loneliness is really telling us, is that we are wanting connection. And actually, loneliness is there to motivate us to connect. So there may be a motivation to connect with our partner, and when we're not really feeling connected to them, we may be experiencing loneliness because we're not connecting with our family. Everyone's got a bit too busy. It could be that we're not feeling that connection to our community. What is our loneliness telling us about our situation that we want to change? Is it that we want to connect better with the relationships that we have? Or is it that we are missing some relationships where connection happens? And even though loneliness is difficult and painful, I just encourage you to use it as a motivating force to connect, as a kind of alert that you are wanting to connect with people. And it may be people already in your life, or it may be people who are yet to come into it. But I encourage you to reach out. I hope that helps. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next week.